Sorry.
Dear colleagues and friends, first I want to thank you for coming here today at this early time. We appreciate your presence and all the support from you, from your governments and from your people. We're here to mark the third grim anniversary of Russia's full-scale invasion to Ukraine. Russia chose to invade Ukraine to fulfill its barbaric plans, to grab our sovereignty and subjugate our people. However, the war didn't start in 2022. It began from Russia's occupation of Crimea in 2014. In the moment when Ukraine was in one of the weakest points of its history. We did not start this war, and we are the nation that wants to end it most. In February 2022, we heard many voices promising us only 3 days till the fall of Kiev and our democracy. But Ukraine withstood the first blow of Russia, the most devastating military attack in the modern history of Europe. 3 days turned in weeks, months, years. It has been 3 long years of our fight, bravery, sacrifice, and unity. It has been 3 years of Russia's brutal killings, atrocities, and crimes. It has been 3 years of your united voice, unprecedented support, and joint actions against Russian evil. Thank you for this. It is impossible to measure and calculate your support. Every single effort, bullet, penny has been saving lives of Ukrainian people. One cannot underestimate the support of our host country, Turkey, which has been standing by Ukrainian side from 2014. We resisted the pressure by Putin's Russia and did not yield. We want just and standing peace for Ukraine and Europe, peace through strength. We will defend our right to exist, and no one will force us to surrender. We want just and stable peace based on guarantees. Without them, Putin will recuperate and regroup his forces to attack again, and he will try to go further than Ukraine. And only our joint efforts will stop him. Dear friends, this morning we are also remembering the memory of fallen defenders with a joint Christian and Muslim prayer, symbolizing the unity of Ukrainian heroes. By my side also are Vlada Liberova, Ukrainian documentary photographer, whose works you could see in all global media, and Olena Ivanenko-Rysh, a combat medic and assault trooper of the 47th Separate Mechanized Brigade. You will have an opportunity to briefly speak with them after we complete the ceremony and move inside the embassy building. Excellencies, colleagues, we raised our flag today, the symbol of Ukrainian fight and heroism. And I kindly ask you to adorn your embassies and residences with the colors of Ukrainian flag today, as a symbol of your support for Ukrainian people. Thank you, and glory to Ukraine.
Dear ambassadors, dear Ukrainian friends, dear ladies and gentlemen, we meet here on the third grand anniversary of Russia's launch of a full-scale war against Ukraine, Europe, and against the world of values, democracy and solidarity. For 3 years now, Russia has been prosecuting its unprovoked and unjustified full-scale war on Ukraine. On Putin's criminal orders, tens of thousands of Ukrainians have died, including children, and 1/4 of Ukraine's population have become displaced. Ukrainian children are being kidnapped, and Russian military has deliberately attacked residential areas, cultural centers, schools, places of worship, and other civilian targets. As you know, from the very beginning of the war, Poland has supported Ukraine in the fight against the invader, providing military and humanitarian aid, and hosting millions of refugees fleeing from Russian borders. Now the Polish presidency in the Council of the European Union is seeking sustained support for Ukraine and its reconstruction, as well as increasing pressure on Russia and its allies to end the ongoing aggression. Europeans have no alternative but to stand firmly with Ukraine. We must scale up military, continue to provide financial and diplomatic support for Ukraine. Thank you.
Friends, of course we gathered today to mark the third anniversary of Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine. This is a solemn moment to honor the resilience and the sacrifice of the Ukrainian people and to reaffirm our unwavering commitment to Ukraine's sovereignty and freedom. Although it is Ukrainians who have borne the heaviest burden from the very beginning, steadfast support from the international community has been vital. Military, economic, and humanitarian assistance has helped Ukraine resist Russia's aggression and defend its rightful place among free nations. But as we all know, this is not just about Ukraine. This is about defending the principles of sovereignty, international law, and the right of nations to determine their own future. Canada, for one, has stood with Ukraine every step of the way, providing military aid, imposing unprecedented and coordinated sanctions on Russia, delivering humanitarian relief, and supporting reconstruction efforts, even while this war still rages. Today, Canada's commitment remains firm and steadfast. We will never abandon Ukraine. For those who support Ukraine at this critical moment, we must resist pressures that seek to weaken our resolve. Calls for premature concessions or imposed compromises do not lead to peace. They only embolden aggression. Stability cannot come at the cost of justice, nor can security be built on the erosion of a nation's right to independence. And so we reiterate today, as we have for 3 long and grueling years, that nothing can be decided about Ukraine without Ukraine. Ukraine must determine its own future, free from coercion, pressure, or forced compromise. The path forward must be guided by justice, security, and a commitment to lasting peace. So history will judge all of us, all the nations of the G7, the European Union, NATO, and the wider international community, in how we respond to this moment. Our strength lies in our unity and in our principles, which for the sake of Ukraine and for all of us, must be preserved. Thank you.
Of course, we are all shattered that we have already now the third year concluded on this horrible war, which has caused so much suffering to the Ukrainian people. And it is very clear that no one wants peace more than Ukraine itself. And as Kevin just pointed out, there can be no peace, no decision on Ukraine without Ukraine, and no decision on European security without Europe. Any agreement without Ukraine and Europe will fail. Peace through strength We must put Ukraine in the strongest possible position. Important now is that we can ensure that we not walk into a trap that Russia is setting up. Any peace deal must be sustainable. A bad deal would only lead to more war, just as it did before. Russia will simply rearm and re-attack. The killing, and we should have no doubt about that, the killing could stop any time. Russia just needs to withdraw its troops. Russia needs to stop bombing Ukraine. Russia is the aggressor. Rewarding the aggressor can never be an option. If Russia is not stopped in Ukraine, other countries may feel emboldened to use force for territorial gains. This is not in the interest of the international community. Sovereignty and territorial integrity are the cornerstones of the international order. Russia wages here a neo-colonial imperialist war against a sovereign member of the international community. Russia's unprovoked and unjustified full-scale invasion of Ukraine threatens global security by internationalizing the war through involvement of North Korea and Iran and irresponsible nuclear saber-rattling. It has disrupted global food and energy markets. It has sent shockwaves around the world, affecting everyone. Time is not on Russia's side. 3 years into the war, Russia has not reached any of its objectives and will not reach them. Russia proved that it cannot be trusted. It breaks international law, including the UN Charter, while being a permanent member of the UN Security Council. It completely disregards its own legal obligations, international bilateral agreements, and clear commitments it made to respect Ukrainian sovereignty, independence, and territorial integrity. Russia has proven times and times again that it does not hesitate to use military force to achieve what it wants, disregarding the UN Charter and international law. Repeated war crimes committed against civilians show Russia's absolute contempt for human life as protected by international humanitarian law and human rights. We believe that Russia is more and more isolated and less credible across the world. It was forced to build alliances with the likes of North Korea and Iran and broke numerous UN sanctions. We will continue to isolate Russia. Thank you very much.
Amin. Agios Athos, Agios Ischiros, Agios Aphanatos eleison imas. Agios Athos, Agios Ischiros, Agios Aphanatos eleison imas. Agios Athos, Agios Ischiros, Agios Aphanatos eleison imas. Δόξα Πατρί και Υιού και Αγίου Πνεύματι και νυν και αεί και εις τους αιώνας των αιώνων. Αμинь. Пресвятая Троица, помилуй нас, Господи, очисти грехи наши, Владыка, прости беззаконие наше. Святые, посети исцеление мощи нашей имени Твоего ради. Господи, помилуй, Господи, помилуй, Господи, помилуй. Слава Отцу и Сыну и Святому Духу, и ныне и присно, и во веки веков. Аминь.
Ne oluyor lafı?